at the next thing is to look at the taxes which hello. Yeah, so the next thing is to look at the taxes on which the base is an asset. So, and these include property tax, taxes which are imposed on land or landed property. Then some other people have argued to that capital gains tax, which if you remember was under transactional value, because it only comes in place when you sell assets that has appreciated. Some people have also argued that, oh yeah, that some assets like land, for example, there's always this innate assumption that land will always appreciate. So if I'm paying tax on land, and I can also classify it as tax on assets. Anyways, that's not it's not it's it's not it doesn't change anything anyway. So let's just continue. Now, what we've so one of the things that's always that is like one of the mistakes that people make is confusion of tax and other aspects of government revenue. So the tax policy also then tries to explain what the distinction between those two types of revenue to the government is: tax and other forms of revenue. Like revenue is whatever is coming in for the government. So in case of, okay, the government is selling barrels of crude oil, and money is coming in, that's a particular type of revenue for the government. But also there are other types of revenue apart from things that happen from commercial activity of the government. So so the NTP has basically defined revenue as income received from all activities engaged in by receiving entity. So in governmental terms, revenue is the entire amount received by the government from sources within and outside the government's territory. So but taxes are a subcomponent of government revenue. Of course, they are not the only revenue item, and it's internally generated by the government. So in short, um, revenue is a okay. Taxes are a form of revenue, or all taxes are revenue, but not all revenue is tax majorly. And now other sources of internal revenue apart from taxes, fees, rates, levies, fines, tolls, penalty, and charges. And the NTP has also then defined what these items are. So so the those items are defined as, the charge is defined as the amount paid for use of goods and services or infrastructure provided by the government. Uh, example, a vivid example is, let's say, toll gates. Toll gates. So although okay, so caveat, I'm not talking about Lekki toll gates, because that is like a partnership between government and the private company. But the toll gates that were on the road before, like the Ibadan toll gate, Shagamu toll gate, yeah, that's purely a government establishment. And so the fees that were coming from, or the charges that were coming from, that the government was earning from the use of those roads, was being collected through the toll gate. So that's another example of a charge. Now, a fee is the payment for labor or service provided by a public body, such as a government entity or agency. Example of fees include payments for the use of utilities and for obtaining government documents such as passports and visa. I think this is kind of self-explanatory. Passports and visa. If you go to immigration to renew your passport or to collect passport, of course you pay. You collect driver's license from Federal Road Safety Service Commission. Yes, so those are examples of fees. Then the NTP also define what fines are. It said they are sum of money imposed by the government as penalties for an offence or indiscretion by a person within the jurisdiction of the government. I mean, this is also, you don't know, this is also clear. You don't know what fines are. So, for example, I've not filed my tax on time. You know, there's this fine for late filing of you know of not filing on time. There's this fine of me if I beat traffic lights or if I commit a road offense, the government can charge me a fine, you know. Yeah. So the NCP also define what penalty is. Penalty is, like you said, is similar to a fine and it's usually an amount paid or forfeited for not meeting a particular condition or fulfilling an undertaking. Example of penalties include, okay, now I've mixed up fines and penalties earlier. So penalty, so the example I gave about filing of tax, that will fall under penalty, not fine. But you know, like they also said, they are similar. And so example of penalties include payment of late filings or returns or the late or non provision of information at the time required to government agencies. So these are penalties. They will also define what rates are. They are usually imposed on property or other assets and are determined with reference to a value of the property or in relation to some other things. For example, include tenement rates that state government charge, rate on shop and kiosks. I'm sure the land use charge would also be would also be classified as a rate. Now the next thing is, the next slide please. Okay, so the next one other thing one other prescription of the NTP is to define the level of responsibility of government for the administration of tax. Now I'm sure we have a module which is the tax administration. Companies even tax government. Hello, Bin, I can't see.
Mute myself.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Okay.
It seems I lost connection here, or all the time I can't hear you. But let me reshare the screen, please, in a minute. Can you view this? Can you view my screen now?
Yes. Okay. So so what I've learned earlier about the separation of power is part of what is called fiscal federalism. So we all know what federalism is. I assume federalism is, and we want to ensure that the way tax is administered and spent is it gets to all the three levels of the government, and that also now involves saying, okay, this particular state is generating this amount of. Then at the end of the day, we are saying, okay, how is the all the taxes collected? How is it shared? When VAT is collected, it goes to say the federation account. So what is the formula for sharing revenue collected into the federation account between the other levels of government, the states and the local government? Yeah, so and that's what this fiscal federalism is majorly about. So the so the application expenditure of revenue in 2012 um, put together in 2012, although the discussion was put together in a document in 2012, although the body of the tax policy had been formulated as far back as 2004, coming from the study of the study group that was put together in that period. So, but as time goes on, one of the, like I mentioned, one of the things that they do is also to to review those taxes, to review the policy. So there's been some changes. This was as of 2012, but in 2017 there was